Regulation H is just around the corner, and with it comes a lot of changes to the meta in Pokemon VGC battles. So in today's video, we're going to go over all the changes from Regulation G to Regulation H so that you're all caught up and ready for it. We'll also check out some of the tournaments that have already been ran, because for some of us, Regulation H started the moment that it was announced. So there are plenty of tournaments to look at. So we'll go ahead and check those out and see just how this meta is shaping up. So let's get it. All right, so here we are at the Regulation H rule set. Now, one of the biggest changes that we had from Regulation G to Regulation H was the removal of a lot of the really strong restricted legendary Pokemon, Paradox Pokemon, and Urshifu. There was a lot of Pokemon removed, and that changed the meta a ton, because what you basically ended up having was you removed a lot of that really high power offensive Pokemon, changing how the game's gonna get played and opening up new strategies, making a lot of other Pokemon that were not really viable very viable. So it's gonna be really interesting meta, and like I said, there have been a lot of tournaments already started that have really kind of shaped the meta as it is right now, and it is pretty interesting. So we'll get into that, but let's check out all those legendary Pokemon, or at least Pokemon that have been removed you can't use anymore. So you can't use any of the Kanto legendary birds: Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres. Mewtwo is gone, Mew is gone. We are done with Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. Lugia, Ho-Oh. Reggie rocks all the Reggies. Latios, Latios, Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza. Jirachi was already gone. Deoxys, Uxie, Mesprit, Azelf. You've got Dialga and both its origin and normal form. And then you've got Regigigas, Heatran, Giratina. You've got Cresselia, another big one that was gone. Let's see what else was here. Cobalion is toast. You've got Terrakion, Virizion. You've got Tornadus and Thundurus. Now, those two Pokemon were huge in Regulation G. They are no longer allowed. They are gone. So you got to find other Tailwind setters. Reshiram, Zekrom. The Landrases are gone. Another really big Pokemon that people were using a ton in these metas. Completely gone. Kyurem. You got Greninja, which I think has pretty much been banned forever. Let's see what else we got. We got Solgaleo, Lunala, Necrozma, Zacian, Zamazenta are gone, Eternatus. And honestly, I think one of the biggest removals of this regulation is going to be those Urshifus. You cannot use any Urshifu, which means Protects are usable again. It's honestly, it's crazy how just that one Pokemon, that one Pokemon is going to change a lot, because that's what a lot of people's water type Pokemon. A lot of people try to build Pokemon cores with fire, water, grass. That water core is gone. You still got the fire with the Incineroar and the Rillaboom with the grass, but man, that really big key that a lot of people are using in Urshifu water is completely toast. So there's gonna be a lot of changes in the water type Pokemon coming up here in Regulation H. Regidrago, Glastrier, and Spectrier are gone with the Calyrex. Another just the absolute giant, just champions of that regulation. Miraidon, also the other champion of that regulation, is completely toast. Now, the other really big one that might catch some of you off guard is that there are also no Paradox Pokemon allowed whatsoever, which honestly, when they announced the rule set, did kind of surprise me. I figured they would have kept them in, but they really dropped the power level of this next regulation. They really wanted to kind of just remove all the power Pokemon and really see what people were able to build with a lot of the more base Pokemon in the actual game, which is pretty cool. Especially since we got all those new additions in the Indigo Disc and the Blueberry Academy. So the changes from Regulation A, which was our first one, to Regulation H is going to be really cool to see, because there's gonna be a lot of adaptations to those Regulation A teams coming with a lot of those new Pokemon that we can now use from those DLCs. Now, all of your Paradox Pokemon, Screamtail, Brute Bonnet, Fluttermane. Fluttermane is another really big one, because that was the kind of pinnacle fairy type Pokemon. Fairy type Pokemon are really good. They've always been really good. They've got really good defensive typings, and giving Fluttermane a ghost typing and just an insane move pool, damage, stats, like Fluttermane was crazy. People are going to find some different options. So you're going to see Pokemon like Primarina, who are going to fill the water and fairy hole. You've got Pokemon like Sylveon that'll pop up. So like, there are going to be Pokemon that are going to fill that gap, but just not as good. You're never going to get to Fluttermane. It's a Pokemon all on its own. Let's see what other ones we got here. Iron Bundle also gone. Another huge one is Iron Hands. Those fake outs are toast. Iron Juggers was used a little bit, gone. The Ruin Pokemon. So Chin Pao, Tinglu, Chi-Yu, Wu Chen, all gone. Can't use them. It's crazy. That was also another huge powerhouse. You had Chin Pao boosting physical attacks. You had Chi-Yu boosting special attacks. Like, all those Pokemon are gone. Like, Tinglu and Wu Chen were really nice for, like, you know, they kind of kept Pokemon alive for a little bit longer, but they're still really strong in their own right. So they're gone. Now you got your other the big one, the Roaring Moon, and then the Iron Valiant, the absolutely insane number 2 at Worlds Iron Valiant. Who would have ever thought we would be saying that in this day and age? But it happened. Iron Valiant made 2nd place at Worlds with Utah's team with that Calyrex Ice Rider. Super cool, but you cannot use it in Regulation H, so it has been nixed for this one. Another good chunk of very popular Pokemon. You got Miraidon, Koraidon, Walking Wake is gone. The Okidogi, why can't I think of the name of those ones? Toxic Chain Pokemon? No, it's not that. I don't remember what they were called. The Loyal 3. Aha. The Loyal 3 are gone. Can't have those anymore. Another huge one, man. Ogerpon is toast. Those follow me into a grass type, killing those Amoonguss spores and just being an overall just annoying Pokemon. Gone. Then you've got all of your other Pokemon like Gouging Fire, Raging Bolt, Iron Boulder, Iron Crown, Terapagos, all huge staples in Regulation G. Gone. So if you know, a lot of these Pokemon are they're legendary Pokemon. They have huge stat pools. So my first initial thought about this meta once I heard the rule set for it was, we've taken a lot of the power out of the meta. So we've taken a lot of the massive damage, the one-hit KOs, the really high offensive, you know, killing Pokemon either one-hit KO or two-hit KOs. And it's really going to pull it down a little bit. So now that we don't have so much damage, there's going to be some new techs that are going to be able to be used that were not usable in Regulation G. Some of those are going to be things like Trick Room, getting things set up. That's kind of going to be the one big thing is getting set up. They're going to try to set up Pokemon to get you a checkmate basically in the match. So setting up Trick Room is a great one that helps you out. And with the power creep being brought down, you're going to be able to get into Trick Room, and well, Tricker Pokemon are still super powerful anyways, so it doesn't really hurt them. It just makes it so they can actually get into Trick Room and possibly survive a little bit longer. So I could see Trick Room being used a little bit more. You've got more of the Psychic Spam coming with the Amoonguss, or not Amoonguss, but in DD Armrouge. It's gonna happen. It's not as easy to run because a lot of people are running Dark type Pokemon. It's gonna be hard, but I'll be honest, it's gonna come back. Other big Pokemon, like I was saying, setup Pokemon, Dondozo is going to come back. It was a little bit rough in Regulation G because everybody was so strong that even with your +2 speed, you were kind of still in a weird spot with Dondozo. So we kind of saw the fall off of Dondozo in Reg G. It was pretty real. But now that we're moving into Regulation H, much more like Regulation A, Dondozo was huge. Dondozo was a very, very big Pokemon in Regulation A, and he's going to come back. Will it be as strong? Probably not. There's more answers to it now. You've got Rillaboom. You've got you've got a ton of different answers. So, yes and no. Other Pokemon you see is anything that you can boost your stats upon. Anytime you can do that in a relatively easy manner, you can give yourself just a really nice, solid kind of a checkmate in a Pokemon VGC match. And two that kind of just pop out of the top of my head are going to be Annihilate and Archaludon. They've really kind of dominated the meta right now. And with the way that they're able to boost their stats and their damage, they can be really, really rough to deal with. Annihilate getting the Rage Fist, using Beat Up and end up having like a 300 damage Ghost type move come at you turn one is pretty rough to have to deal with. Same side with Archaludon with the Stamina. It's really easy to get a bunch of stacks of Stamina and just start body pressing things. So we're going to see a lot more setting up. We're going to see a lot of more stat boosts, stat increases to kind of get Pokemon up to the point where they can start, really causing a problem. And so with that, comes the other change in the meta. Obviously, everybody who kind of was looking at this meta realized the changes that were probably going to end up happening, and that was that people are going to be doing stat increases. And so how do you deal with stat increases? Well, there's a couple of them. You have Clear Smog from Amoonguss, and you have Haze. Haze is an incredible Pokemon move because it doesn't target anybody. You can't really stop it. There's no like protection from it. It just kind of happens, unless obviously you're faked out or whatever. But like Haze it goes off. You can't have an item on your Pokemon to stop it, and it can really ruin a lot of stat boosting Pokemon like Dondozo. It's so detrimental to the Dondozo team. It's unbelievable. So you're gonna start seeing a lot more Hazes popping up on teams with like Palafin. They're gonna be running Haze so they can deal with any of those stat boosts. So yeah, those are gonna be some big ones. Now, the other side of it, the last kind of one I want to talk about was there is still going to be hyper offensive Pokemon teams you are going to have to deal with. Just because they removed all those really big damage dealing Pokemon doesn't mean that there isn't other Pokemon that are going to take its spot pretty much immediately. One of the first ones that comes to my mind that I've seen pretty regularly is Hisuian Typhlosion. Hisuian Typhlosion is a fast attacking Pokemon. It's got ghost typing, so you don't have to worry about fake out. It's also got a really, really nice special attack stat, being a starter Pokemon, which means that you can erupt with that Pokemon in Sun almost immediately and do a ton of damage. It's very, very hyper offense, and one that you kind of got to look out for. The weather meta is also very prevalent, so sun, sand, rain are going to be around. You're going to see those, and man, Hisuian Typhlosion takes care of a good chunk of stuff, so keep your eye on that one. But what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go ahead and check out some of the tournament results from some of the bigger tournaments that have happened over this last month while we're waiting for Regulation H to drop. The first one, I think, let's go ahead and hop over to what I believe is the biggest Regulation H tournament that has been ran in this time frame, and I believe that is the Hemi Turner Inaugural Worlds Tour. So let's go check that one out. All right, so here we are with the Hemi Tour. It's the inaugural pre-Worlds Throwdown. There were a ton of people in this tournament. There was a $1,000 prize pool, and I believe there was a little over, right around 450 players join this. Absolutely monster tournament. So first off to Hemi, man, congratulations. This was super cool to watch. Fantastic tournament, and just props to you, man. Good shit. Now with this tournament, there were some very, very early, this was kind of early when Regulation H dropped. This was kind of like the first week or two. So there were definitely some pretty common like team cores kind of popping up. Things have changed a little bit since then, but not a lot. One of the first things that I noticed when I was going through this in the top 8 is Archaludon is in the first, out of the top 8 teams is almost on every team. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4. The top 5 teams, 4 of them have Archaludon. Wild. Very, very strong Pokemon, especially in rain. It just does very, very well. And you see every time you see Archaludon, it is basically paired with a Pelipper. It gives a little bit of resistance to its fire type weakness. It also gives it the rain, which boosts its electroshock. Pelipper and Archaludon work very, very, very well together. Now, a lot of the Pokemon that people will go with Archaludon is you're generally going to get some other Pokemon that you can utilize in the rain. So like this one, they've got Goldango. This one, they've got Annihilate. This one, they've got the Basculegion. You'll see Basculegion. You'll see... we didn't see a lot of Palafin in this one, which is actually a little bit surprising. There's one right here. But you're going to see a Pokemon that's going to be able to utilize in the rain. Now... or at least get some benefit from being in the rain, because I think this one was actually a Water Terra Annihilate. There's some pretty cool options in these tournaments. They did pretty cool stuff, but a lot of the teams are also, again, like I said, really kind of similar. There's maybe some different Pokemons, but there's definitely some front runners in the meta. Annihilate is a big one. Archaludon's huge. Pelipper is big. Incineroar, it's just Incineroar. You've got Mousehold is going to be a big one. It's got that normal Terra or Ghost Terra normal type Pokemon. Follow Me can be really, really challenging when like you're in an Annihilate and you want to Rage Fist something, but you don't know if you're going to get a Follow Me into a normal type Pokemon. So like that is pretty rough, especially with Friend Guard. The boosted kind of defense from Friend Guard is super good, especially when you're trying to boost somebody up like an Annihilate or an Archaludon, anytime you can kind of get those boosts up while taking less damage, just helps you out in a ridiculously great way. Another one that popped up pretty regularly was the Hydreigon. So Hydreigon is another, it's a great Pokemon. It's got massive BST base stats. It's got Snarl. It's a dark type. It gets Tailwind. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with that Pokemon. Then now that a lot of the other Pokemon are gone, like Fluttermane. I mean, Fluttermane was a literal just murder of that Pokemon. Now that Fluttermane's gone, you're cool. You're golden. King Gambit's another one that's gonna be popping up a bunch. You're gonna see that another one. It's a really high powered dark type Pokemon, just can help with size spam, stuff like that. And it's just it can be a real pain in the butt to deal with. So yeah, I mean, this meta is crazy. We're definitely seeing a lot of rain. Rain is definitely going to be probably the #1 at the moment until people start figuring out the other archetypes. You've seen a little bit of sand. You might see a little bit of sun. You'll probably see more sun than anything. And then snow. I'm pretty sure snow is pretty well died. I'll be real. I think without Iron Bundle, it just doesn't. It just you lost so many things recently with the Regulation H Ruleset that it's just hard to run it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that there's not a lot that feels good with snow. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody actually makes like a really good usable snow team. But yeah, rain is a big one. You got to be able to deal with rain. You got to be able to deal with the grassy terrain Rillaboom. It's wild out there. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop over to another tournament and see if there's some changes in the meta. So let's go to the next one. All right, here we are with our very own Wide League tournament. This was a Saturday Night Rumble Regulation H, and we have, obviously, I mean, the team lists look pretty different from the last one. And I think this was about a week or two later from Hemi's tour, so there were definitely some updates, changes. People were trying to be like, okay, so if I have to deal with rain, like, now we get thinking, you're like, what else can we do to deal with that rain issue? So people definitely didn't just run all rain. There was definitely a lot of changes in this one. So first place team, Talonflame, Goldango, Rillaboom. We've got the Water Tauros. So that is our kind of change in the water type Pokemon from the Urshifu Water. So now we've got an Intimidate Water user. Pretty cool. Mousehold and Hydreigon. So these two are going to be big ones. You're going to see a lot of Rillaboom. You're going to see a lot of Goldango. Your Tailwind users are going to swap it up since we don't have Tornadus anymore. So Pokemon like Talonflame, Pelipper, Hydreigon, all these Pokemon are going to be popping up a little bit more. Second place, we've got Pelipper and Basculegion. So we've got our rain team here, but they've also got a little bit of a Trick Room core. You've got the Overquill, you've got the Blood Moon Ursaluna and Farigiraf. Blood Moon's going to be another problem Pokemon. It's a very strong Pokemon, being able to hit ghost type Pokemon with normal type moves. It works. It's definitely one of those ones where you're going to see people running this all the time anyway. So we've got our first Dondozo team. So Dondozo's coming back with good old Orange Steve here. We've got the Bruxish to deal with the priority moves. You got Dozo, Tatsugiri, Berserker, and Goldango. This is a pretty cool little combo because Berserker actually has an ability that boosts steel type moves. And so if you're running this Goldango, you could probably do a ton of damage. Yeah, you see he's got the Steely Spirit boosting steel type moves. Choice Specs, Steel Terra, Make It Rain. That's wild. So you come in, you fake out, and then you just absolutely annihilate something with that Goldango. That is wild. I love that. Good tech. Third place too. Went 8-2. Another Goldango. Here's our Primarina. Hey, we got a sand team ish. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, you got T-Tar. We got a Trick Room team with the Armarouge and Indeedee. Going to be seeing more of that pop up here as people get more comfortable with how they want to build a team with the new tools. Another Rain team, pretty common. Basculegion, Pelipper, Arch. Got another rain team, Pelipper Arch, and this was the Annihilate Mousehold Grimmsnarl team. This is a combo that I am pretty excited to see, and it should be popping up more as Lilligant Torkoal. Fast mode, Trick Room. You've also got Hisui and Zoroark. Okay. So real quick with Hisui and Zoroark. This Pokemon is single-handedly going to ruin Annihilate's life. and it ruined mine in one of the last tournaments. And the reason being is because this is a normal ghost type Pokemon, which means if you are running Rage Fist, Drain Punch on your Annihilate, and that is the only two moves you have, you are not allowed to hit Hisuian Zoroark. You can't hit it with a single move, and you're completely useless. It sucks. And so there's definitely gonna be more people. I really think that more people are gonna start pulling this up and having this little trick up their sleeve, because I'll tell you what, man, especially how the meta is, it's gonna get used. And that is just, yeah, I think I actually fought King Christian in this tournament, and that ruined me. Hardcore, 100%. We've got another Trick Room time, and I'm really excited about this one because this has got Dusclops. This is one of those Pokemon I thought in Regulation, like as it was announced that they were coming back with the Indigo Disc, the Dusclops would be really good. Dusclops is a hard Pokemon to hit, and now you don't have Urshifu, Calyrex, and all those really strong Pokemon like Fluttermane. It's gonna be hard to kill Dusclops, I'll be honest, and he's probably gonna be really annoying. So I'm pretty excited about that one. That should be fun. There's another team that I saw down here. So we've got a Sand team. So there's one popping up. They're starting to come around. We got more Dondozo. And here's what I was talking about. So Hisuian Typhlosion. You're going to have a couple of changes in the Pokemon, obviously, with the meta. So Sylveon is our Fluttermane dropout. So we have Fluttermane's gone. Drop Sylveon in. Jumpluff is a really good Pokemon that for Tailwind that people aren't going to be utilizing a ton. Gets Chlorophyll, so he gets really boosted speed. Like, Jumpluff is cool. Ninetales is going to be one of those ones where I don't... It does set up Sun, but I don't... I wonder how good it actually ends up being, because it's Ninetales. It doesn't end up getting a lot of defensive stats, and it can get knocked out pretty quick. So this is an interesting one. But then we also have the Typhlosion, Terrifier, Charcoal, and Eruption. In the Sun will do just so much damage. And then if you end up having like your Mousehold on the field and you can follow me and redirect some of that stuff, this could be a problem. This could also be a problem with Hyper Voice. So I mean, if you just have Sylveon Mousehold, crazy. Good team though. I love this. So yeah, that is, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with the meta. It's definitely a rain meta from a lot of these tournaments that we're seeing. And I wonder how it's going to shape up here in the coming weeks. Yo, thank you all so much for coming out to my Regulation H discussion video. I had a ton of fun going over Regulation H. It's a really exciting meta for me that I'm definitely ready to get into. You're going to be seeing a lot of my Regulation H teams pop up on the YouTube channel so that you can have them, test them, rent them. I'll be doing hopefully new teams every week for the Wide League tournaments, so you'll probably see some new ones come up. I have 2 teams already that I'm going to be making videos for that I'll be dropping up on the YouTube here. One of them is going to be the Inteleon Illumise team that we made really early on. It'll be a lot of fun to drop on. It's a really goofy team. Not the best, but funny. Then the second team is actually a recreation of the team that won the Hemi Tour with the Annihilate Archaudon, so we can kind of see what that really strong meta team is like, so that we can obviously figure out a way to beat it. So there'll be some coming out. I'm really excited about those. If there's any specific teams you want me to cover, or any teams that you've made that you're like, hey, this is really good and you want me to cover, let me know. Drop me a DM, send me a comment. I'd be more than happy to cover teams from the community. I really love being able to showcase some of your guys' amazing teams. So if that's something you want to do, let me know. I'd be more than happy to. But yeah, Regulation H, excited. Hop on into some Wide League tournaments. We've definitely got a bunch of Regulation H Wide League tournaments every Saturday night. We'll be kicking those off for the entire regulation. But that is it for me today, folks. I hope you have a fantastic day out in the Paldea, the Kitakami, and now the Blueberry Academy. And until next time, peace out.